Here we go. It's episode 141 of the Daily Puck Drop. It's Puck. How about that? Pucksports.com. Thank you for watching on YouTube and listening on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you find your podcast. Again, on all the platforms, please like, rate, subscribe, leave comments. This one, I think, will be a juicy one today here on the Daily Puck Drop as we record this Thursday, June 6th. Real quick, I was going to actually save this for Hey, What the Puck, but let's just get it out of the way right now. Thank you. Thank you to those brave men 80 years ago today, June 6, 1944. 18, 19, 20-year-olds jumping out of those military boats onto a beach in Omaha Beach there in Normandy, France, and how scared you would be just to put yourself in their shoes, how scared you would be jumping into those cold waters and jumping onto that beach, bullets flying at you nonstop, guys around you just going down, and then having to climb up a hill just to secure freedom. So thank you. Thank you to those men that did that, those brave young men 80 years ago here on D-Day, June 6, 1944. So episode 141 here of the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD. Well, a lot of Mariners. We usually do a lot of Mariners anyways. There's a hot rumor in the NBA with Dan Hurley. We'll get on that. And then, of course, day one of the NBA Finals, game one of the NBA Finals later today. Also on Hey, What the Puck, a bizarre story involving a crossing guard lady. Let's jump, though, right in here to the Mariners. I want to get into the trade talk as well, as we had Ryan Divish on yesterday for his episode, and boy, did that elicit a reaction on social media about what the Mariners could possibly give up to secure Vlad Guerrero Jr. All I asked him was, what would it take to get Vlad? I'm not even saying that they should go and get Vlad Guerrero Jr., but he's going to likely be available if you want to get him. I mean, I don't care what the Blue Jays said about he's not going to be traded. I mean, you have to at least call, and if you do call on him, what is it going to cost? So Divish gave an answer, then some of you lost your goddamn minds about who they would have to give up. He's 3 years ago, he finished second in the American League MVP. What do you think it's going to cost him? And he's 25. So we'll get into that. We'll replay what Divish said on the show yesterday. So the offense, again, just the reoccurring theme. I mean, my God, they almost got no hit. I mean, not no hit. It was almost a perfect game from Joey Estes, who Estes going into the game had an ERA damn near 7. It was like 6.46 heading into that game. And he locks them up like every starter has done this year against this team. I mean, they are the absolute worst offense against a starter. They don't do anything until they get into the bullpen. And they shouldn't have done nothing against that bullpen because of Mason Miller coming in, throwing 100 miles an hour. But they lose yesterday, again, because they can't do anything offensively. They waste another great performance from Logan Gilbert. I would just be immensely frustrated if I was a pitcher on this team to have to sit there and every single night knowing that I'm going to step out on the mound and I've got to be damn near perfect every night. And boy, I would love to be a fly on the wall, a private conversation with some of these starters when they discuss their offense. A private text thread between Gilbert and Castillo and Miller and Wu and George Kirby. God, I would wouldn't you just love to know what they say? Because they have got to be perfect all the time. And then they've got to make a move, and they make one mistake like Gilbert made yesterday on the pickoff attempt of Mike Cameron's kid. And then it's just the game's over. Pretty much just over. 2-1, they lose. The only good news is the under hit again. So the Bet M's under summer is rolling. 17, 16, and 1, by the way. And the total tonight is 7.5 with our guy who's on the mound. Woo, woo, woo. That's right. Woo, woo, woo. Against left-hander J.P. Sears. I just like playing this. Woo, woo, woo. I love Brian Wu. So Brian Wu tonight, or this afternoon, I should say. It's because it's a day game, but they lose. Before we get to the trade stuff, this game of baseball is so manufactured, right? In terms of what they use in terms of analytics and numbers and playing out the game to a degree so much before the actual game takes place. And many have argued, and it's a fair point, but it's not trying to diminish what a manager does. That really the most important person from any organization is the general manager rather than the field manager. But there is a feel for the field manager that he must make certain calls and execute certain things when the game is on the line. I think it's fair to say that Scott Servais in game managing needs a lot of work. And it's just one area which I'm not quite sure. Well, I just don't think he's strong at. And I think there's a lot of people out there that agree with this. And case in point, yesterday. It's not to say that he's not a good manager. It's not to say that he doesn't do well with other stuff behind the scenes and manages personalities and all that. But I would just ask Scott Servais, and I listened to the whole 2.5 minutes yesterday, and I just honestly I cannot believe it was not asked. And whatever they put up on the Mariners media website, the Q&A stuff, why did anyone not ask when Cal Raleigh got a walk after the Julio home run? Excuse me. Got to stop smoking. I don't smoke. I'm just kidding. You've got Ryan Bliss on the bench. Why is Ryan Bliss on the team? Ryan Bliss is on the team because, well, he's young. You needed a second base, an infielder, and he's fast. He's like really fast. Like he has 28 stolen bases in Tacoma this year. He had 55 last year total. Cal Raleigh's not fast. It's a one-run game. I don't know. Pinch run for him. Get him on the base so he can steal second and be in scoring position. So I don't know. You can tie the game. I would love to hear from Scott Servais why he elected not to do that. Does he not trust Ryan Bliss in that situation? Trust him why? Why you trust Cal Raleigh more to be a base runner there in that situation than Ryan Bliss? I mean, Ty France strikes out, then you call on Victor Robles. We'll get into Victor Robles a little bit later. Hits into a double play, game's over. But the decision right there, I mean, these are what managers are paid for. This is not on a spreadsheet. You've got to be able to manage in-game situations like this. That's a critical error by Scott Servais. And I would just like to know the reasoning. Because the only reasoning I can think of why he did not do that is because he didn't want to put Seby Zavala in the game because he couldn't use Garver. So he was so scared of Zavala to catch in the bottom of the 9th inning. Okay? Then why is he on the team? If you don't trust this guy to catch, then get him off the team and find somebody else. Now, maybe that's not a service thing or more of a where it falls into DePoto's hands, but my God, leaving Ryan Bliss on the bench is just it absolutely inexcusable last night in that game. Just absolutely inexcusable. This team is not good enough offensively to sit there and string together a bunch of hits. Got to manufacture some stuff, get it going. And you've got a speedster on your bench and you just leave him there. Because, and again, the only thing I can think of is that he just did not trust Zavala if they had tied the game to come in and catch. And by God, that is just a complete failure on so many different levels in that game line. That game was so damn winnable last night, and the manager got in the way of it. Just absolutely got in the way of it last night. I mean, I think the other decision, and again, this will go against analytics. This will go against everything that they preach, and I get it, and I understand it, and I know why Garver's on the team. But Garver, and God bless Mitch Garver, but he has been just a disappointment this season. He's not been good. I mean, I think Mitch Garver would tell you that. Mitch Garver, I don't think is going to blow smoke up your ass and tell you, no, I've been better than you think. He hasn't been good. Luke Raley has been good. Okay, and I know they bring in the McFarland guy so they bring in the lefty. And so you have Luke Raley there. And it is an obvious choice. Okay, you got a left-hand pitcher. We got a right-hander on the bench. Let's bring in Mitch Garver. I totally get it. And yes, on paper, that makes perfect sense. But not in the reality, not the way this season has gone. That's why you've got, at some point, have got to manage with feel. Instead of just looking at, I don't know why I have my Elks card here, but whatever, a spreadsheet, just a piece of paper. Leave Luke Raley in there. I would rather, and again, you could say, well, that's 2020 hindsight. If had Mitch Garver come through, you'd be singing his praises. Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But I just think the way the season has gone, I'm rolling the dice with Luke Raley. I just am. He's only had 21 at-bats against lefties this year. Okay, you're right. He's hitting 286 against them, and he's slugging 476. That's better than Mitch Garver has done against left-handers. So if you want to use numbers, and again, it's a small sample size, I'd highlight Luke Raley's numbers. It just sometimes just because you've all this statistical information in front of you, sometimes you got to look at it and what does your gut say? We have taken the human element and gut out of sports, especially this sport, and especially I think at times this manager. Another decision, top of the 8th inning. My God, this will spark a debate because everyone, has an opinion on this one because, you can't bunt anymore in baseball. That's not allowed, apparently. Top of the 8th inning. You are down 2-0. Okay, you've done nothing against their pitchers. Your offense has done nothing. You can't hit the ball. Finally, you get a couple of hits. You string a couple of singles together. You got Dylan Moore on the team. I love Dylan Moore. Dylan Moore, to me, is just a baseball player. Guy can do everything. You need Dylan Moore's on your team. Plays every position, plays hard, plays good defense, runs fast, doesn't bitch and moan and complain about things. And I got to put some money down that Dylan Moore, if he's given whatever the bunt sign is, can probably lay down a bunt to push the runners in scoring position. What does Scott Servais do? Doesn't do it. Gets out, inning, and then eventually the inning's over. Yeah, JP and Rojas coming up. I mean, I just, it is mind-boggling to me sometimes how he manages games. And there was just 3 moves yesterday where I think and again, no one's perfect. I get it. But this is honestly has been a fault of his for a long time. And it's just I just wish, and maybe he'd like to, but maybe somebody's telling him not to do it. I don't know. But I really wish at times he would just manage with his gut, because I bet you inside when he's sitting there, he's probably thinking, well, this is probably the right decision to do. Let's bunt the runners over. Again, I know how much it's gone out of style. I understand people's argument against it. I know how hard it is to bunt against these guys. I'm not saying it's easy. No one is saying it's easy. But these are professional baseball players paid millions of dollars that work on this, that should be working on this. And there is a time and place that you have to do it. And when your bottom of the order is up and trying to get to the top of your order, for guys who have better success of driving runners in, you've got to lay down a bunt and push the runners over. And to not even try to do it, I don't understand it. I don't get it. The Raley situation, he's just swinging a much better bat than Mitch Garver. I don't care that he swings from the left side. Leave him in the game. And then the decision not to run Ryan Bliss, that one is just inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. And again, if it's because you don't want to catch Servais in the bottom of the 9th in case you tie it, then God, we brought it up yesterday. Get him off the team. Find somebody else to play catcher. All right, let's move on. Oh, there's been a lot of fervor over this one. So on yesterday's show, Ryan Divish, Seattle Times, brought to you by Chalet Bowl, chaletbowl.com, the oldest bowling alley in our great state of Washington. We're talking about what the Mariners could potentially do at the deadline. This was following up on his piece with Ryan's piece and Adam Jude's piece with John Stanton. By the way, they recorded their own podcast up at the Seattle Times, Extra Innings. Go check it out. As just kind of breaking down more of their conversation, their interview there with John Stanton. You know, in that piece, Stanton talked about, well, we're going to add, we'll be aggressive at the deadline. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of players available. Luis Robert is a popular name. I like Luis Robert. Sure. I like them all. I want every single player that's available. And then there's been the talk of, would Toronto make Bo Bichette and then also Vlad Guerrero Jr. available? Now, the GM came out and said, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, but that's what they always say. I mean, he's going to say that in order to kind of drive up the price. I simply just asked Ryan Divish, hey, if Guerrero is available, what do you think it costs your Los Marineros? Diligent cost to get Vlad Guerrero?
It would cost you Colt Emerson, Harry Ford, a mid-level prospect, a lower-level prospect.
Okay.
The thing is, so the Mariners have Cole Young, who's technically a shortstop, but I think we all think he's a second baseman.
Okay.
Colt Emerson, Ty Pete, Felnine Celestin, all middle infield.
Yeah.
So I mean,
so what they're going to go eventually, or someone's they're playing someplace else.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing with Harry Ford. Love Harry Ford. I think he's taken a huge step forward, but his value will never be higher than it is right now. Somebody asked the other day, well, maybe you should switch in positions. No, just trade him. If you believe in your draft and development, trade him. He's valued, but you have Cal.
Okay. Now this has taken a life of its own. The people are just up in arms about trading Colt Emerson and Harry Ford and another prospect for Vlad Guerrero Jr. There's a part of the fan base that just simply does not want to do this. And I would say to the fan base out there, because it feels almost a little bit divided. There's some of you I just simply don't get in this fan base. And we can all just agree to disagree. But there's just some of you, I really don't understand you. Because you are the same fans that complain about this team not having enough good players. And then if an opportunity presents itself where they could go out and acquire a good player or two via trade because they don't want to spend money, again, my preference, probably like yours, is for them to spend money and to keep these prospects. I'd love to keep Colt Emerson. I don't want to trade him. Or Harry Ford, or all these guys. I mean, they drafted them. They look like they're going to be good players. Keep them all. But when you have an ownership group that doesn't want to go out and spend money, you are left to, okay, well, we have to draft guys, hopefully develop them, and if people desire them, then we've got to trade them. Okay, well, if they are valued at the major league level, then trade them, because that's the only other way that you are going to get proven major league talent back. And there is no one has any clue if Colt Emerson is ever going to be good. Or for that matter, Harry Ford. And Divish is right. Harry Ford's value will never be higher than it is right now. He could turn into a great player. Yeah, and you've got to wear it and own it. And maybe there's a lot of scar tissue in this town because of past trades. Because trades have just not worked out well for Seattle. And I get it. And again, I'll preface this again and again and again. I would love to keep them all. And I would like to go out and buy good players. To me, that the way that your system is now, I just would have all these guys and then buy a few players. And that's the way I would do it. But they don't operate that way. This ownership group does not operate this way. So you've got to trade for other talented players. Now, if your opinion is, hey, I just don't think Vlad Guerrero Jr. is good. Oh, okay. Then you don't think he's good. He's 25 years old, and 3 years ago, he finished second in the American League MVP. Okay, he's got a 130 OPS plus this year. He strikes out 16% of the time. Yeah, he hasn't been playing great. You're right, he hasn't been playing great this year. But he started off the season bad. But since May 1st, Vlad Guerrero Jr., power still isn't quite there. He's hitting 353, though, and he's slugging 474. He's got an OPS of 910 in his last 30, or since May 1st. It was his first 31 games of the season, which he was terrible, when he hit 229 and he slugged 348. What scares you about Vlad Guerrero Jr.? Well, could he be regressing? Yeah, that is a concern. Is he the greatest first baseman in the world? No, but a couple of years ago, he won a Gold Glove. Does the price tag concern you? Yeah, that concerns me. Not because I'm scared off about paying him, because he made, I think, $19 million this year. He's got one more year of arbitration and then a free agent. So you would have him for a year. What would scare me about Vlad Guerrero Jr. is this organization, this ownership group, not paying him. So that would scare me off of acquiring him. And that's why a guy like Luis Robert would make more sense. He's under contract for a few more years. He's signed through 27. He's not a free agent until 2028. And right now, for the potential of Luis Robert, he's a bargain. You're damn right he's a bargain. Strikes out a ton, though. So if you are tired of watching guys swing for the fences and swing and miss left and right, then you don't want him, because that's all he does. He strikes out all the time. All the time. And here's the other thing that's a downside of Luis Robert. Listen, the ceiling on this guy is immense. He's a very good defender. He's fast. I mean, he's a stud, potentially. He's never healthy, though, by the way. Ever. He played in 68 games in 21, played in 98 games in 22. He's had one healthy season in 5 years. Now, in that one healthy season, he delivered. 264. He had 38 home runs. It was unbelievable. He's dealt with 2 hip flexor injuries, an MCL sprain, a wrist sprain. This is all in 5 years, and he's 26 years of age. There are risks in all of this. There's a risk with Guerrero, and there is a risk with Luis Robert. He's not like a perfect trade prospect, other than he doesn't make a ton of money. And for this organization, they covet that. They don't like guys making a lot of money. That's why they probably would be out on Guerrero, knowing that the inability to re-sign him. That's why they're out on Alonso, most likely. They don't want to deal with that. But getting back to the bigger issue with this fan base, some of you are so obsessed with prospects, just obsessed with them. And you would rather have this stockpile of prospects than to actually have a goddamn winning team. I don't care about prospects. They have been running this organization for since 15 or 14. Okay? It's enough time. Enough already. Go out and win. Win now. Stop waiting for them to deliver. I'm screwed. How long have they been on the job now? I mean, they've been on the job so goddamn long. I forgot how long DePoto's even been there for. It's time to win and stop thinking about what they're going to acquire in a few years from now, or where Colt Emerson is going to be. He's 18 years old. You want to wait 3 more years, at least 3 more years, minimum 3 more years to see where he's at. Most likely 4 years. It's 4 years away. Harry Ford's 21. I mean, is he a year away? Is he 2 years away? Stop being so obsessed with potential and just win games. Win games now. You know who else was a can't-miss prospect? Jared Kelenic. You also know who was a can't-miss prospect? Victor Robles. Both can't-miss prospects. Victor Robles at one point in 2018 was ranked higher than Juan Soto in the Nationals organization. Tell me how that's gone so far for Victor Robles and Jared Kelenic. And maybe I'm cherry-picking 2 guys, but for everyone that sits there and says, well, you can't get rid of Colt Emerson. You can't do it. I'd highlight those two guys and go, really? Why can't you? Because there's nothing guaranteed. This team right now with this pitching staff is good enough if they get in to win the whole thing. Because that pitching staff and that bullpen is so good. But they are not good enough right now offensively. They need help. And for all of you who said, no, that's just the price is too steep, you would all answer yes to this. I would hope you'd all answer yes to this. If you parted with Colt Emerson and Harry Ford, but it delivers you a World Series this year, are you going to complain because you don't have Colt Emerson in 4 years from now and he turns into a 10-time All-Star? I think there is some people out there who say, well, I kind of want long sustained success, not win one World Series. I want to win a World Series. And if it means you win a World Series this year or next season, but you've got to sacrifice that Colt Emerson turns into Gunnar, Henderson Part 2, so be it. I will look at the World Series title and I'll remember the parade and us carrying Jerry DiPoto on our shoulders, down First Avenue. I mean, God, it's not fantasy baseball. Some of you got to get out of the fantasy baseball world. And God, you see 20-second video clips of Colt Emerson swing, and you've made him out to be, Derek Jeter and A-Rod, Gunnar Henderson, and he may be that. He very well may be that, but who knows? It's a roll of the dice. It's crapshoot. They've got a ton of infielders, a ton that they'll have to move one of them eventually or move them to different positions. And for Ford, if you trade Ford, what's the risk of trading Ford? Well, I mean, the obvious. He's your catcher of the future. And if you can't sign Cal Raleigh, you are screwed. Because he would be he's the heir apparent to Cal Raleigh. You better lock up Cal Raleigh. And that's the other thing about these guys having to win now and not wait. They have got big-time contracts that are going to be starting to come up. Cal being one of them, Logan being one of them, Kirby being one of them, eventually Bryce Miller, and eventually, okay, they're going to have to pay all of them. Will they pay all of them? Likely not. So some of these guys are going to have to leave, but they've got them under control so they can kind of milk it for a while. But come on, man. Guys, stop being afraid to win. Some of you are afraid to jump into the deep pool of the water and win and take your chances. Quickly, but again, keep leaving comments. It's been phenomenal to see all the back and forth with people. And it's, at least you're all, whatever side you're on, whether we agree or disagree, at least we're all passionate about it. And that's what it's all about, right? You're passionate about it because at the end of the day, everybody wants the same thing. They want them to win. Moving on, Brad Adam, we finally got that up yesterday. We had some technical problems. Brad was dealing with internet issues because of all the storm and the power, because he has Comcast. See, we didn't deal with any of that because we have Quantum Fiber home internet, the best home internet that you can possibly have. Quantum Fiber. Hey, the email address, Quantum Fiber, is puck@pucksports.com. All right. But so Brad had to do the show on his daughter's phone. So shout out to Haley, Adam, who was able to give the phone to Brad, and Brad did it. And we just took forever to download. We should come out on Tuesday, but we had to put it out yesterday. And, a lot of the chat was, talking about the team, but some of it then we turned the attention to, and listen, let's just be honest here. Brad's got to tread lightly on this subject. He is employed by Root Sports, which basically is employed by the Mariners. there is a human element to what is going on with the Mariners and Root Sports and the future of their broadcast. It affects Brad. It affects Angie. It affects Jen. It affects Bill Kruger. These are the people that you see on a nightly basis. It affects all these men and women behind the scenes, producers, directors, marketing, sales, all those people. So what happens here in the next few months, year, is going to impact a lot of people. I mean, Brad just celebrated, I think this week, 25 years at Root Sports. I mean, it's a hell of an accomplishment. No one stays at one place that long. No one does. Not in this industry. But again, there's just understand that nightly when they go on, in the back of their heads, minds is the uncertainty of this network. And I think I just appreciate Brad yesterday being honest and upfront about, how he is feeling. And I think how everybody else is feeling as well.
And it's something that we talk about often, obviously at work, and to see some colleagues leave and downsize and our cuts this year, and with the Kraken leaving us and some people leaving us. So yeah, it's not been a fun year for us. Luckily the Mariners are playing well, and that's been fun for us. But just the unknown has been difficult, so we're hoping that we get positive news. The article, I took a lot of positives out of it. So I'm just hoping we just keep doing it.
So, and again, I just appreciate Brad being honest about it. And I mean, there's just a human side to it. So when you watch them on a nightly basis, just understand that, there's a lot of uncertainty going on. I wish the best for everyone that is involved there at Root Sports. I just, being in this industry, I've got to know a lot of them for many, many years. So just kind of thoughts go out to all of them that are working there. So apparently over to the NBA, we got game one of the NBA Finals starting tonight, Boston and Dallas. I can't wait to watch this series. It's going to be a great series. I mean, there's just so much drama built into it. Porzingis back going against his former team. The whole storylines of Porzingis and maybe Luka didn't get along, and the relationship there with Mark Cuban. Of course, Kyrie Irving going back to Boston, in which he was just hated. And I'll give credit to Kyrie. Boy, whoever has gotten into him to tell him to spin this PR machine that he is doing and being accountable and really trying to reach out and extend the olive branch to the Boston fans is great. Now, it ain't going to work. All this like olive branch extending he is doing ain't going to work against these fans. They are not going to forget how bad you were there in a Celtics uniform. They're not going to forget you're not playing. They're not going to forget you're not playing well. They're not going to forget you being a bad teammate towards their two young superstars in Brown and Tatum. They're not going to forget when you came back with the Nets and burning the stage, stomping on the logo. They're not going to forget you flipping them off. None of all this little spin you're doing this week is going to work tonight when you step on that floor. You're not going to win them over. This is not a fan base. The way you treated them, you don't get to then come in the media and try to make amends. They do not forget. But game one of the finals tonight, I think it's going to be a terrific series, and two just highly skilled teams that play at such a high level. Dallas with their improvement on defensively against Boston and their offensive machine and juggernaut. Other huge news out of the NBA is that apparently Dan Hurley in negotiations to become the next head coach of the LA Lakers. Just kind of feels like it came out of nowhere. Speculation has been that it's going to be LeBron's podcast partner, JJ Redick, getting the call, and maybe JJ ultimately gets it. Maybe Dan Hurley is using this a little bit as leverage. I don't know what leverage it would mean, but I'm not going to drive up money with UConn, but Dan Hurley in the NBA, boy, that would be fascinating. He would have to change a lot how he coaches. Now, and I'm not talking from a schematic standpoint, defense, offense. I mean, his offense is great. He runs a highly intricate offensive system. and that spreads the floor out, very European-like games. I mean, it's good stuff, and it would translate to the NBA. But he can't yell and scream. It can't be like the way he is in college. These aren't college kids. These guys make 34, 30, 40, $50 million a year. They ain't going to listen to that. They're going to listen to guys scream and bitch at them for 82 games. He's even talked about that if he made a transition to the NBA, he'd have to change. You're damn right he'd have to change. I don't know if he could do it because that's part of his personality. And I think that would wear on guys, even though it's the right way to coach, probably, especially for that team. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? You going to tell LeBron? You going to yell at LeBron? Like how many coaches LeBron's gone through? You got to listen to anybody. And guaranteed that this is the Lakers aren't hiring anyone without LeBron's approval. And I don't care that he's a pending free agent, all that kind of stuff, and where will he go? Yeah, I mean, if they hire him and he stays, it's because he wanted him or he wanted JJ Redick. So we'll see. It's intriguing. I think all these guys, I think they want to coach at the highest level, whether you're a college coach for football, you want to coach in the NFL. I think whether you're a college coach in the in college basketball, I think you want to coach in the NBA. I mean, I think it's a goal. Look at Ryan Grubb. Ryan Grubb left being an offensive coordinator in college, could have been a head coach in college, jumped to the NFL. Why? Because they have to deal with all the BS that is in college sports right now. And if Hurley jumps, it's just another example of a college coach have enough with this stuff. I want to go to the NBA. I want to go to the professional level where all I do is coach. That's it. And I think it's appealing to a lot of those guys. I think you're going to see more of these coaches do it. More of these guys are going to jump ship. It's just going to happen. Because the crap in college athletics, re-recruiting guys left and right, paying players, managing the stupid egos of these players and then their agents and then their parents. They go to the professional level. They don't got to deal with any of that. That's the general managers that got to deal with that. All they got to do is coach. I mean, you'll probably burn out fast. Well, I don't know. I mean, if you burn out faster, maybe the professional level, just because of the grind of it, of dealing with superstar players who are, who have more power than you. Right now, a college coach has more power than the players. But I don't know. It's kind of decreasing, isn't it? A little bit, but I love Dan Hurley. He's a fantastic coach. I love his personality. I think there needs to be more red-ass coaches in professional sports. I think you need to lay into these guys more than we have. I think it's okay to yell at, players and get on them a little bit. I think they could use it a little bit more. I think we've tended to trend too much in the other direction of being too soft. So, all right. Hey, what the puck? As we wrap up the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD. Shout out to my good friend Casey J. Cox. Casey, I've known Casey for forever, and he is he is pivoted in the business world of professional coaching. And he's also the host of a terrific podcast called the Quarterback Dadcast, which he's hosted for about 5 years, I believe now. This guy, he's a podcasting star, Casey J. Cox. Also a legendary quarterback for the Meeker Junior High Pioneers, also the Kent Ridge Chargers, we are KR, and went on to be a quarterback at Central Washington. But he's got a podcast, again, the Quarterback Dadcast with Casey J. Cox. We recorded this a few weeks ago. Apparently, he finally got around to releasing it, son of a bitch, but he did. But it was a fun trip down memory lane. Some great stories between the two of us. We go all the way back to 7th grade. And about life, about family, growing up, your parents, being a father, all of it. It's a terrific format that he has created and a platform that he has created, talking about life and fatherhood, and just great to catch up with him. And a living legend. We were, as basketball players growing up, kind of we call them the limited participation games, fifth quarter games that we got to play in. He and I, we were legends because we never played, but we would get in these fifth quarter games and it was Jack City. Every time we touched the ball, it was going up. every single time. So go check it out wherever you find your podcast. Apple, the number one place. The Quarterback Dadcast, Casey Jaycox, and myself, and of course wherever you find your podcast. Lastly, quickly, there is a Hey What the Puck, a story coming out of Pennsylvania involving a woman who's about 26 who worked as a crossing guard at a middle school. She has been arrested for supplying vape pens and edible marijuana to kids in Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania TV station with the latest.
Our cameras were there last night as police led 26-year-old Kiara Lee to a waiting van, her feet shackled. She faces a list of charges, including possession of drugs and corruption of minors. Investigators say she used her position as a crossing guard at an intersection near Penwoods Middle School to get close to kids and gave at least one child edible marijuana.
There's a great line coming up right here.
Said, a crossing guard protecting children. Instead, she's using that position to get to know children and then sharing harmful products.
The Delaware County District Attorney says they are looking to see if more kids got drugs from Lee. In the affidavit obtained by Action News, at least 4 kids were interviewed by police.
You can imagine a child who's taken edible marijuana and is sitting in a classroom is not exactly paying attention, becoming an ace.
You don't say. Edible marijuana guy's just sitting there. Kids just, I mean, you know, when it hits, you know, about an hour in, just hits, and that kid's just out. You got to, on this terrible platform, I should have a picture on YouTube of her, and then people listening on the podcast, Apple and Spotify, wherever. Yeah, I'm not doing you any justice. Go find the picture of her. It is. I mean, you want to talk about, you know, we don't judge a book by its cover. You can judge this book. You can judge this book for sure. Go find her mugshot of the crossing guard person arrested in Pennsylvania for handing out edible marijuana to middle school kids. Go check it out. All right, that's it. Daily Puck Drop, DPD. It is a Thursday football show. So that means we got Rob Staten, Seahawks Draft Blog, coming up later today. Also, Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network. We appreciate you listening to episode 141 of the Daily Puck Drop. And again, if you know anyone, and they're getting up there in age, they're going to be in their 90s, right? Late 90s. 80 years ago today, June 6, 1944. Thank you. Got grandparents, great-great-grandparents, right? Thank you to you. Just the bravest people that this country has ever had, that jumped out of those ships, jumped into that cold water, ran up on that beach in June 6, 1944, Omaha Beach in Normandy. Thank you for what you did, and thank you for letting this Putz and others be able to do what we're able to do. So thank you so much. That's the Daily Puck Drop. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, we promise to be better.
No shirt, no shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah. I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!